Hi, this is Mr. Max with some Kofa Mathematics. What I have here is paper 1 of 2017. This paper is for learners doing core mathematics. Grade 9 learners can also go through this paper as the content is very much similar. So I'm going to start off right off from the beginning where the first question says that you're supposed to insert brackets. Now, if you have a look at this particular question, you realize that there is only about two places where you can put your brackets. And as you can see what I've done here, the parts in red is where the brackets would be. Now, you should find this without spending too much time. Okay. Then question 2 in the same question paper asks you to work out 8 divided by 200, and then you give that answer in standard form. Now 8 divided by 200 is 0.04, and when you write a number in standard form, the first number here, the A, as we denoted in standard form, it should always be less than, that number should always be less, so let's call that number A, where the 4 is. It should be less than 10. All right, as you can see that 4 is less than 10, but it can be greater and equal to 1. So any number between 1 and 10, but not more than 10. That is what this particular number here should be. And then the base of 10 is always what we use. And something else that I want to take notice of, and I hope that you do remember, is that the index or the exponent here should always be an integer. Now, an integer, as you know, is a negative number, whole number, that is, a positive whole number, as well as 0. So you can't have 10 raised to the power of something like a decimal. So the correct answer there was 4 times 10 raised to the negative 2 power. Question 3, you have a very long number here. It's a very small number actually, 0.004572. You are supposed to give this number correct to two significant figures. Now, a significant figure, as you know, is a number that, or the most significant figure, like in this particular case, the 4 is most significant because it represents 4 thousands and that number, and it becomes the first significant figure, and then the 5 becomes the second significant figure, and before you start rounding, you always have a look at the third significant figure. In this particular case, 7 is going to round that 5 to 0.0046. So you should not just write 46 is a very big number. The number is still very small, still less than 1. Part 3, you are supposed to insert less than, greater than, or equal to between the following statements. The first one is a third is equal to, or is it greater than, or is it less than 33 and a third, 33.3. Now, one thing you should know about a third, and you can use your calculator since you are using it in the exam, you realize that 1 over 3 is actually a recurring decimal. So it is therefore bigger than 33.3%, because 33.3% is a terminating decimal. It means it ends while the other one keeps on continuing. Okay, so this one is 0.33, and that's where it ends. So then you must know the fundamental difference, but you can always use the calculator. The second one, again, use the calculator. You change 0.75, you realize that they are actually equal. Then 9.9, and here is another one. You look at 9.9, you must decide whether 9.9 is bigger than or less than or greater than 99% rather. So what you can do is you take your calculator and you work this out, and you realize that you should end with 0.99, making it therefore a smaller number. Therefore 9.9 is bigger than 99%. Here's another one that you are supposed to fill in the missing number to make the fraction through. So what you do is you take your calculator, okay? And you just punch 54 over 78 in order for you to find what this number would be. Or you can definitely divide 78 by 13 and subsequently you can find what that number is. In this particular case, the number is 9. So what I was saying, you take 78 on your calculator and you divide it by 13, you're going to get 6. And once you get 6, when you do that, once you get 6, you can actually find that answer by simply dividing. So if you find here, you multiply by 6, then you can find this by dividing 54 by 6 in order for you to find that 9. Question 6, the table below shows the temperature recorded at different towns during a particular winter day at the same time. All right, so they're asking you, first question is which town recorded, okay, the highest temperature. Don't write the temperature, we want which town. The highest temperature, as you can see, is the one that is closer to 0, it's -1. So town C. The second part says find the difference between the highest and the lowest. Now we already know what the highest is, and the lowest is the one that is furthest away from 0, if you can think of it in that way, and therefore the correct difference between the temperatures is 9 degrees Celsius. Question 2, you have 3 numbers here. The number 2, 121, the square root of 5. So first thing is they ask you from the list of the numbers here, write down. And I've highlighted the word write so that you don't have to do any calculations, because you are supposed to know these questions. You are supposed to recall. An irrational number is a number that cannot be written as a fraction, and the square root of 5 is one such an example. A prime number is a number that only has 2 factors, and that number in this particular case is 2. Only 1 and 2 itself can go into 2. Question 8, Mike Heller changes 13,750 US dollar, and the exchange rate at that time was 1 US dollar is equivalent to 12.9044 Namibian dollar. You're supposed to calculate the amount she receives. Now you expect the amount she receives, you expect it to be in US dollar, and since the US currency is stronger, so what you expect in reality is you expect an amount that is far less than what you're dealing with, right? It's far less, but it's stronger, because if 1 US dollar is equivalent to 12, then you can say, I need to take this 13,750 and I must divide it. Okay, so I have done a little bit of what we can say is equivalent fraction. 1 over something, that is the US dollar on this side, is equal to 12, if you do equivalent fraction, over 13,750. So when you do cross multiplication, you eventually will end up with this particular total in terms of US dollar, and then you give it to correct to 2 decimal places as $1,065.53. Question 9, I believe most of you have got this one right. Write 40 minutes as a fraction of 1 hour. 1 hour consists of 60 minutes. So 40 divided by 60, and then you simplify that. Very important that you simplify. For this question, you just have to take the ratio and then you write it as an improper fraction, because whatever you are multiplying with an improper fraction, the answer becomes bigger. Suppose the question had asked you to decrease, then you would have been writing 3 over 5 multiplied by that, 27. Question 10, again, some money question here. Shemaine has or 750 that she wants to invest using simple interest, but we are only interested in what is the interest that she receives. So again, there is a formula to calculate simple interest. I put everything over 1, so you know the principal, which in this case is 750 over 1 times the rate, which is always a percentage, times 3, which is the time, and the time must always be given in years. And what you are left with is the $112.50, which is the interest required. Had they asked you to find the amount, you'd be taking this $112.50 and added it to the 750, but they are not asking for that, so be very careful for that one. Question 11, the distance d kilometer between Okanja and Windhoek is 70 kilometer, but not exactly 70 kilometer. This is a rounded answer. It's to the nearest 10. So it can be anywhere like 71 kilometer, 72, 69, 65, just as an example. All right. So what we do is we take that nearest 10 and we divide it by 2. We average it out so we can know what are we supposed to add to the higher value or the upper bound, which is always on the right side, and what are we going to subtract, which is called the lower bound, which is always on the left side. All right. So the lower bound is 65 kilometer and the upper bound is 75 kilometer. Please don't swap them around, as it would simply not be. Andrea scored 25 marks out of 40 in a mathematics test. Calculate the percentage that he got in the test. This is very easy. You simply just take the 25, you divide it by 40, and you multiply that by 100. You can say 100 over 1, it doesn't matter, as long as you get to the 62.5%. Part B is a very interesting question. It says in the next test he set for that was also out of 40, he then scored 80%. Be very careful here. The question does not ask you to find his score, but also you're supposed to find how many more marks did he score compared to the last test. So first we find the marks that he got. Well, he got 32 marks. Remember they were 25, so 32 minus 25. That tells you we have obtained 7 more marks than before. Question 13, you have a sequence, and the sequence is 1, 12, 23, and so on and so on. But you are supposed to find the 6th term. Now, a lot of people are using, formula, but you can only play with your calculator also the constant function. First, you find the difference between the terms, all right? And if you do, like what I did in this case, I know that the sequence is arithmetic because it has what we call a common difference. That means if I take the second term minus the first, or the third term minus the second, I get that this 11, the sequence is always increasing by 11. And you say on your calculator 1 plus 11, you press equal to, which will give you 12. Then you press plus 11, you say equal to. And from this point on, you just press on 11 and 11, and then you just press on equal to, it gives you the next term, and so on. Ultimately, I can also use the knowledge we have. We know the first term is 1. The second term, I add 11, I get 12. The third term, I add 11 to that 12, I get 23. And the fourth term, I add 11 to the 23, I get 34. The fifth term is 45. And the sixth term then is 56. You should get this 56 under a minute. There are people who are using the formula, but again, as I said, this does not really require you to use the formula, but you go ahead if you know how to use the formula. The A always represents the first term, and if you're looking for the sixth term, you put 6 here and multiply that by the common difference. Obviously, you will end up with 56 as well. Question 14 is really interesting. You're supposed to simplify. It's a straightforward question. Now, when you multiply, you always multiply your coefficients, and then you multiply your variables. 12a squared. The b part, you have got 18b to the 9th power divided by 3b to the power 4. As you see, I took the coefficients first, and then I took the b's, and I realized when the bases are the same and you are dividing, what we do is to subtract the indices, and we got 6b to the power of 5. Question 15. Monday thinks of a number. When she doubles the number and subtracts 7, the answer is 7. When she subtracts 3, rather. So this is the equation that we are supposed to create. The next question will ask us to solve the equation. All right? And the way you solve it is you add 3, because the 3 is a minus here on the left, and then you divide throughout by 2, and then you find that the value or the number that you was thinking of is 5. Question 16, simultaneous equations. They always seem to get into question papers. The core question papers is always worth 3 marks. So be on the lookout for those if you're struggling. So we take these 2. Now, one thing that you must realize is that if you look at the coefficients of the variables of m, they're not equal. The same with the coefficients of the variables of n, they're not equal. So you can't go ahead and eliminate anything. You must pick a pair that you are going to make the coefficients to be equal. It's either I take the 3 and the 5, and then I want them to be 15, which is going to be the LCM. Or I can take the -4 and the 2, and I can make them all 4s and so on. So I have done both methods. So the first thing is I will multiply every term in term 1 by 5, because 5 times 3 will give me 15. And then I will also multiply every term in the second equation by 3. 3 times 5 is 15, and so on. So what I'm left with, I've got 15m minus 20 equals to 35. This is the first equation. If you multiply it by 5, the second equation, if you multiply by 3, gives you this. Now I subtract because I'm eliminating the m's. When I do that, I'm going to be left with, and here's the catch, -20 minus 6 is -26. Use your calculator. And then 35 minus 48, that is just minus 38. I mean minus 13. So if you are looking for the value of n, you divide throughout by -26. So once you have one answer, this is where it's very important, you then take this answer and you go and substitute it either into the first or the second equation. It's totally up to you which one you use, okay? So I've used equation 1. That means now I'm going to substitute the value of n here, as I did here, and I indicated with the black. And when I do that, and I play around with it, okay, so 3m minus a half of 4 is equal to 7, I'm realizing that my value for m will eventually be 3. So another student could have said, yeah, but what if I decided to make the coefficients of n to be the same? Here you have got a positive 4 and a negative 4 after you did that. Problem is, when you have different numbers and you want to eliminate, you must add. When you have the same numbers and you want to eliminate, you subtract. It works the same way and you do arrive at the same answer. There are many other ways that people can do. Sometimes you can change the sign by multiplying by negative and so on. Bottom line, if you do that, then each term should be multiplied by a negative. That is on the left as well as on the right. Question 17, there's a graph. This shows the savings account balance for the year of Angala. All right, so when you can see that with 0 months, she has 600, because the first question is asking, write down the amount she started with in the savings. Obviously, it's 600, okay? And then now the second question is, in which month was her savings account balance 1,300? So again, let's just see. So 1,300 is about somewhere there. So what we're looking for is the 7th month. Please, that is what we are doing for those two questions. Question 18 brings us a diagram. The first question is saying, write down the number of lines of symmetry. A line of symmetry is a line that cuts a shape in half, and it can exactly superimpose one side on top of the other. All right, so this particular diagram has got 4, and I have shown those 4, as you would see by the different colors. Those will cut the shape into a half every time. Then the order of rotational symmetry means how many times can you turn the shape and it still looks like the same. So with the center there, you rotate it about 4 times, okay? So when you rotate it, you see I started with my A, that's already 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you rotate it, it's going to be the same. Question 19, this question deals with bearings. Say the bearing of D from C is 110. Work out a bearing of C from D. So when you go to from, you always go after all. There's a few things you're supposed to remember when you are dealing. First, bearings are given from the north line. Always, all right? All bearings are given from the north. And you must move in a clockwise direction. Okay? Always in a clockwise direction. You must give a bearing as a three-figure bearing, These are just a few that I can remember or that are applicable. There are obviously other things that are involved, like when you get words like due south or due east. All right, exactly 90 degrees to the east. So the way you solve this particular question is I can take the bearing of D or C from D. That means I'll go to D, and once I'm at D, I go in a clockwise direction, so I can find this particular angle here because the co-interior angles of something that has got parallel lines is always 180. So why is this important? Because now I can actually find the whole one here by simply subtracting 70 from 360, because that is what that revolution creates. Well, there are other ways that you can do this. Another way could be someone takes a different approach. Okay, let me just clean this up. Someone could say, well, I can do this. I can find the distance from here all the way up to there. That is 180. And then I must only add this little part here, which so happen to be equal to that part there. And that's what you see I've done in the second instance, where I say you take that 180 plus 110, you still arrive at 290. 180 plus 110 is 290. So never mind my little mistake here. It's supposed to be 290 degrees. Question 20, you have a regular hexagon. Regular means all the sides are equal. This side is equal to that side, is equal to this side, and is equal to this side, and all of them are 6 sides. Very important they give you information, because if you were asked to find the value of x, you will realize that if I draw lines coming from the center, I can get 6 of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 identical, and I can find these whole angles must add up to 360 degrees. So simply I will divide 360 by 6, and that tells me what is each then angle equal to. The B part, or before I go there, there's also another way. You find an interior angle plus an exterior angle is always equal to 180. So I can just take an interior angle and subtract 120 from 180, and I will still arrive at the same angle. The B part, they are saying another polygon. So what you realize is that all the exterior angles, they go around. So all the exterior angles, they add up to 360. It's the same like angles at the center add up to 360. So you just simply divide the 3 into 360 for you to find the number of sides of the new polygon. Question 21, the diagram shows a circle and triangle OAB. As you can see, the line AB is a tangent to the circle at point B. First question, they say words like obtuse, acute, and reflex are used to describe angles. Now, when you look at triangle or at angle A, this is an angle that is less than 90 degrees, and it therefore has to be an acute angle. Part B, you are supposed to say, why is ABO 90 degrees? Why is this angle 90 degrees? Okay, so think about the circle and the radius. The angle that is formed by a circle and a radius or a diameter is always 90 degrees. Then they say you must calculate this particular angle here. So I've done it two ways. You can either add these two and subtract 180, because all the angles of any triangle, they add up to 180 degrees. Or since this angle is 35 and that is 90, then 35 plus another angle should be complementary. That means they should add up to 90 on their own, and I know that it's 55. Question 22. The diagram shows the net of solid, and the dimensions are given as follows. The length is 7 centimeters, the width is 3.5, and the height is 5 centimeters. So first special name is a cuboid or a rectangular prism. The second thing, and this is what I've done here, you're supposed to calculate the area. Now, do you realize these are all rectangles? So if we add all the areas of the rectangle, like for example, if I take those two identical rectangles, I get 35 centimeters squared and 35 centimeters squared. If I take these ones on the side, which are identical, 17.5, and I add them up, and lastly, if I add these ones in the middle and the one on the outside, then I only left with adding all of these areas. That should give me the total surface area, as I did here on the side, which is equal to 154 square centimeter. Well, ultimately, there is also another way you can do this, but the bottom line is don't get it wrong. Okay, so suppose you have got your cuboid here, as you know, all right, and you can decide to close down, because that's what the net becomes, and then you can fill in your values here. So that's 7, so that is 3.5, I believe, and then the height they said is 5 centimeter, right? And then you can play around with the formula. You find these two with the one at the back, you find this one at the side, and so you go to find the total surface area. But otherwise, the option of working with the net, like what we did here, all right, worked out best. Question 23, in a survey, a number of people chose their favorite sport. The results show that. You can see by looking at the pie chart, even though it is not to scale, soccer seems to take the preference, followed by netball, then hockey, and so on. So they are saying you're supposed to calculate the size for the particular angle that is not written down here, and that is very easy. Everything else should add up to 360, so add everything and subtract it from 360. That tells you that that particular angle for volleyball will be 60 degrees. Then the number of people who chose to play cricket is 120. So we go to the sector for cricket. All right, so what I did is I took 50 over the 360, and I say is equal to the same as 120 people over something. And when I find out something, what this is allowing me to do is to find the total number of people at this who took part in this survey. So now I know 684 of them took part, and I can find the ones for soccer by simply going to the sector for soccer, which is 115, and I put that over 360 degrees, and I say let that equal to be some number over the total number of people who are going to take part or who took part in the whole survey. So you end up with 276 people who chose soccer as their favorite color. Ultimately, I also have another way. You'll realize that this is a solution that is quite easy and straightforward, but I just want to express what 120 over 50 comes from. It's 2.4. So if I multiply 2.4, I will get the totals I'm looking for. If I multiply here by 2.4, I'll get the totals that I'm looking for, and so it goes on. Question 24, in a parking area, the probability of finding a Corolla car is 3/8. There are 184 cars. This question is really straightforward. First, you can find the number of Corollas that are in the parking area, but this does not guarantee you full marks because you're supposed to find the cars that are not Corollas, and you can simply subtract the 184 minus 69. Or alternatively, you can find 5/8 of this particular fraction to make it a whole number, and you say 5/8 of 184, that gives you the portion for that person or for that number of cars. 25 shows a chart of different modes of transport by 25 learners. What a lot of people did not take note is that walking is also a form of transport. So name the type of transport which represents the mode, the one that is the most. The higher the bar here in this bar chart, that is the higher the frequency, the higher the number of people doing that actual thing, and that is walking. Then they say use the bar to complete the frequency table. So I have a frequency table here, so you just have to compare how many people are going to to school using a bicycle? Well, you have it between 6 and 8, so we determine it's 7. How many people are doing by walking? Again, the value is between 12 and 10, which is 11, as you can see. And then they're saying car, and car is exactly at 4, and that is how you find those missing values. Now, here's something that perhaps you would want to know. How do they mark this? Well, you get 1 mark for only 2 corrected, listed, but then you get full marks for everything rightly and correctly indicated. Question 26. Well, question 26 involves a little bit of transformation, so vectors as it is. They're saying point A is negative 1, 1, as you can see. Point B is negative 3, 2. They say write BA as a column vector. That means from B to A. Now, what those vectors represent, these are coordinates, but they represent sliding movement, and I think I should attempt to show you what is happening here. So if we are moving this point B and we say 1, 2, 3, or let's say we moved 1, 2. All right, so we moved 1, 2. So that means I've moved 2 places to the right. So when I move 2 places to the right, when you go to the right, you add. And then from there I go 1, 2, 3 places, but I'm going 3 places down. So the moment I go down, then I will definitely know that this value is negative. Whenever the x direction is negative, it means you're sliding to the left, horizontally. So the correct answer there is 2, negative 3. That's the vector that we have there that is not known. The next question here is asking us about, they're saying that point C is somewhere in the grid. And point C is such that it is 4, negative 1 from BC. So from B to C. So I'll go to B and I will count 4 places to the right. And because I'm counting 4 places to the right, this is going to be 1. That's going to be 2. That's going to be 3. That's going to be 4. And then I must go 1 place down. So going 1 place down, and this is where I arrive. And this is where point C would be. All right? And point C would be 1, 3. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to press the like button, and also to press the notification bell so that you can get notifications every time whenever I upload videos. I am going to do paper 3, and you will surely have it, of 2017. If you go onto the Google Classroom channel, you will see there is a grade 12 core mathematics Google. That is the code you can use, and you can access even these question papers. I have loaded 2017's paper 1 and paper 3, so you can go through them, and then you can use the videos, and wherever you get stuck, again, you can get hold of me. Drop me a WhatsApp to that number with your problem, or drop me an email address. But whenever you are contacting me, please identify yourselves, whether you're a student or a teacher, so that I can also update my own database. Good night.